The term Good Samaritan is recognized worldwide. Most often, we treat it as a generic idiom for helping a stranger with a flat tire or paying for the coffee of the person behind us in line. In its first-century context, Jesus is setting a calculated theological trap for a religious expert. The confrontation begins in Luke 10:25. A lawyer, a scribe expert in the Mosaic law, stands up to test Jesus, asking, "What shall I do to inherit eternal life?" This question introduces the tension of justification. The lawyer is attempting to shrink the demands of the law down to a manageable size. He is looking for a circle small enough to step safely inside and declare himself righteous. Unpacking the history of this passage reveals the weight of God's law for the self-righteous and clarifies the actual call to action for the redeemed. Reducing this parable to a mere ethical guideline obscures its diagnostic power, the way it exposes the impossibility of self-justification. Jesus answers the lawyer by pointing him straight back to the text. The lawyer correctly recites the two great commandments: love God with your entire being and love your neighbor as yourself. Knowing he cannot love everyone perfectly, the lawyer looks for a loophole. He asks, "And who is my neighbor?" He wants a strict legal definition that justifies his apathy towards certain groups. This plays into a common rabbinic debate. This whiteboard map shows how many scribes viewed their obligations. Righteous Jews sit safely in the center ring, while sinners, outcasts, and Gentiles are pushed completely out of bounds. Jesus sets his story on the desolate road from Jerusalem to Jericho. The harsh, rocky terrain navigates a severe 3,300-foot drop in elevation. In the first century, this specific geography made the Jericho road notorious. The sharp turns and deep ravines provided ideal cover for highway robbery. Into this danger, a traveler is ambushed by bandits. The victim is stripped of his clothing, beaten, and abandoned half dead in the dirt. Jesus omits a crucial piece of information here. He leaves the victim's ethnicity and religious status completely unstated. By placing the story on the Jericho road, Jesus forces an abstract theological debate into a gritty life-or-death scenario where academic loopholes fail. The first person to encounter the bleeding man is a priest, representing the pinnacle of the religious elite, yet he passes by on the other side. He likely fears ritual defilement from a presumed corpse, prioritizing ceremonial cleanliness over the moral imperative to preserve a human life. Next comes a Levite, another temple servant. He follows the priest's example, choosing his own convenience and safety over mercy. A third traveler arrives. Introducing a Samaritan was a deliberate offense. This image shows Mount Gerizim, where these despised heretics maintained a rival worship center. Where the religious elites avoid the victim, the Samaritan experiences an immediate, visceral compassion. He crosses the road. He administers practical aid. He pours soothing oil and disinfecting wine onto the wounds, binds them, and lifts the victim onto his own animal. He takes the man to an inn and pays for future care. Here are the obverse and reverse views of a silver Roman denarius. He gives the innkeeper 2 denarii. For a laborer, that represented 2 full days' wages, a significant material sacrifice. Jesus uses the most culturally hated figure to prove that true fulfillment of the law ignores social, ethnic, and religious boundaries. Jesus refuses to answer the lawyer's original question of "Who is my neighbor?" Instead, Jesus reverses the premise. As this animation shows, the question shifts from "Who is my neighbor?" to whom will I be a neighbor?" When asked which of the 3 proved to be a neighbor, the lawyer's prejudice prevents him from even uttering the word Samaritan. He can only reply, "The one who showed him mercy." Jesus closes the exchange with a command to the expert, "Go and do likewise." Jesus redefines neighbor as an active, sacrificial posture toward anyone in need, moving past demographic categories. We must return to the lawyer's original premise: do this and you will live. If inheriting eternal life requires loving perfectly and at our own total expense, even loving our enemies, then the lawyer is trapped. This parable establishes the standard of the law. As illustrated by this weight, it presents a standard we cannot meet, designed to break the illusion of self-sufficiency. If this level of mercy is the true measure of the law, then the law ceases to be a ladder for the lawyer to climb. It becomes a mirror, exposing a lack of perfect love that no amount of religious record-keeping can cover. This parable strips away our pride, showing that basic human decency is entirely insufficient to earn eternal life. For the Christian believer who has received grace, the application of the parable changes. The gospel shows that we are the ones who were helpless on the road. This diagram shows the heart of the gospel. We were rescued by Christ when we had nothing to offer. The command, "Go and do likewise," serves as a response to salvation, rather than boundaries, extending costly compassion to whomever God places in our path. Believers love their enemies and the marginalized, not to earn God's mercy, but to provide living proof that they have been transformed by it.